Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Sharing and Dreaming with Matt, the album review. Today I'm talking with City-Siders SharkArm. Hey guys,
I like your shirt.
about time, yeah, it's nice, eh? I had to wash it because my daughter was wearing it the other day and she can't eat or drink without spilling. It's a bit like, yeah, she's a bit, yeah, you are. You can't do it without spilling it on my shirt.
That's why I don't wear white shirts.
Anyway, that's my daughter. She's all right. We get money for specialty disabilities.
That's
No, I'm joking. Anyway, all right. Tell us about the album and what it means to you. We're talking about this one?
Yeah. Well, Labour of Love, that one took what, 2 years between recording the songs. We actually had all of those songs ready to go before COVID hit.
Oh, okay, mad.
And then COVID hit, and the rest is, history, as they say. But it took until after the first lockdown, in between that, so a year later, to get into the studio to record it.
January 21.
Yeah, January 21, we recorded it at Soundworks Studios in Marrickville.
Oh,
Yep.
Booked the studio for 3 days. One day was spent setting up all the mics and shit. We had our mate Toby Baldwin did the recording for us. So we had to load in all the recording equipment.
We basically built the recording studio
Yeah.
from scratch. It was just a room or 2 rooms.
Sound room and a recording room. Yeah. So that took a day.
Second day, we went for it, basically.
Yeah. Oh, recorded everything but vocals.
Yeah.
And then day 3 was record vocals and pack down everything. So we only really had a half day to record vocals. So it was pretty rushed, to be honest, but it turned out pretty good, I think.
Yep.
And then,
Considering.
we sat on it for about 8 months after it was recorded. Toby edited, got the best bits for us and put it all together.
Yep.
We then took it to, he was a bit busy, so he couldn't mix it with us. So we went to a friend of my missus, who my missus worked with.
Anton, I've heard his name before.
Yeah.
You did
He's done other work, hasn't
Yeah,
Yeah.
apparently he won an aria for a Powderfinger record.
he? Okay, that's probably what I remember the name from, yeah.
Yeah.
What's that? Australian Idol singer guy.
Oh, no.
Isn't he mixed with him as well?
No,
Guy Sebastian.
you're confused.
That's it. That's another guy we work with.
You see, he's the one drinking, you're sober. So
That's
You
right.
can tell why, the memory's gone. Yeah, he's working.
He's crossing wires. So
His
anyway,
thoughts coming out. Yeah.
We did it because of lockdown again. We did it via correspondence, mixed via correspondence. So it was basically a lot of emails and phone calls saying, "Oh, can you fix this? Push this up. Guitars need to be a bit louder at this point in this part of the song, etc., etc." That took a little while, as you can imagine. Should have been, the 3 of us could have just sat that done it in a day, but yeah,
It was done on mates rates.
yeah, but would it have come out the way it did? If
everything
that
done on mates rates, that
That's
type
hard.
It got complex and there was editing that needed to be done. I was like, well, can you do it? Like, I can. I'm not that good at doing it, but I can do it. It's like, well, you can do it, send it to me and see how it sounds. So, yeah. There was some guitar panning things that we did in the editing that he was just like, well, if you can do it, just send it through and I'll work with that, and turned out pretty decent stuff.
we basically just sent him examples of what we wanted, and he went and did it properly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
So did you 90% have full reign of the
of
doing
the outcome.
album?
Yeah, well, no, we had 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. There was, there was suggestions made, but really we yeah, everything that is on that record is what we want. So once we'd finished the mixing, Anton is not a mastering engineer, so he suggested a mate of his or a bloke that he works with often, who happens to be at Guy Sebastian's studio in Surrey Hills, sent it to him, and mate, within a day, he just like that, he knew exactly what to do with it. He just mastered it, did it in all the formats that we needed for getting it pressed to vinyl and all that shit.
Vinyl master,
The whole lot.
quality master, and streaming quality master, basically. Just
So it's
bang on with everything.
You pay the money, but you get what you pay for, if you know what I mean.
Luckily, we work with quality people, so
it's
the outcomes.
it helps to work with people who know what they're doing too. So it's
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how many hours a day? How many days? How long did it take you from day one to? Yep, we're happy with it. How long was that?
In the mixing stage, you mean?
Or from
the idea to the last.
The idea about the record was never really, we're going to write a record. It was more, well, we've got a set of new songs, let's document them.
Okay. Yep.
We'd already released our own on digital, which is the Any Port in a Storm, the shirt that you got on. We did that entirely ourselves.
And you can tell.
And there is a marked difference in sound quality. But with those songs had run their course, and we were kind of sick of playing them. So we wrote a new set and had to do something with it. So we thought, let's make a record. But this time we're going to do it properly.
Yeah. Good enough to do a 12-inch. Good enough to record in 2 days or whatever.
Yeah. So,
let's do it.
We just went and did it.
Well, we can afford to do it.
Went and did it, and basically pulled every favor that we could do to get it done as well as we could.
Yep. So
it took 2 years. Really, it took 2 years, 2.5 years.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Because of COVID, it would have been longer. It would have only taken about a year.
So what was it like during COVID? Like, do you guys live near each other?
Yeah, well, I'm actually just up the road from him. He's in kind of Campsie, and I'm up in Canterbury now.
Okay.
When we were mixing this record, though, I was living in Marrickville, and I'd been there for 15 years or thereabouts. So we were a little bit further apart, not a great deal.
Yeah, but we had the lockout.
But
I was in lockdown.
He was in lockdown and I wasn't.
Yeah.
Separated by one river.
So yeah. Emailing between us two, and then emailing to Anton, and then
so it was just an endless loop of emails and messaging and all that type of stuff, and like everybody else was doing.
Yeah. All right. So you don't have to do this, like, don't get me if I'm wrong, but you might want to leave it up to the listeners, leave it up to them. But can we go through the songs and can you tell me a bit about each song?
Sure.
So we'll start with Gaslighter.
Gaslighter.
The Meerkat.
He's all right. Gonna have a lay down though. All right, Gaslighter. Gaslighter is another work-related song about a bloke I had the absolute pleasure of working with. The lyrics, I suppose the first line is a piece of work with decades of experience. So that pretty much says it all. That's what working with this bloke was like. He was know-it-all and been there and done it all, and anything that, you know, I'm always trying to streamline things at work in my job anyway, just to make it easier and make it run a bit smoother, and, you know, just keep it efficient. Yeah. And this bloke was just going out of his way to make things difficult. So, yeah, songs about him.
Fair enough.
And people like
Right.
that. So that's
Waking
Gaslighter in a nutshell.
Yeah. So, yep, Woking God's Country.
Woking God's Country is about growing up in the Sutherland Shire.
I love the Sutherland. We go through there a fair bit. I love it.
Growing up there in the 80s, 90s, interesting mix of interesting demographic down there. It's a lot of religion, a lot of organized religion. Yeah. I didn't really notice it as a young kid, but once I became a teenager and was a little bit more open to it, I started to notice how if you weren't in a certain church or you weren't part of a certain segregation, you weren't allowed into certain jobs, or you weren't allowed into, you didn't get invited to certain parties, or you weren't invited, basically. It's kind of like that. They call the far north shore the Insular Peninsula, but so is the Sutherland Shire. It's a bit like that. There was a lot of nepotism, a lot of cronyism and shit like that too. Cronulla, when I started high school in 1988, Cronulla was still very Art Deco, still the buildings were still a lot like the 1930s, you know. It's slummy, just like a coastal town, you know.
Yep.
By the time I finished high school, it was a bit like the Gold Coast.
Okay.
So, that's,
You should see it now.
kind of Woke's a bit like that's what Woke's about, you know. Just trying to think of some lines from Woke. Being the type of people we were always classed as freaks in the Sutherland Shire, just for liking the music that we liked. And if you were a punk or a metalhead, or, you know, anyone in a genre like, or subgenre like that in the Sutherland Shire, you were kind of, you know, looked down upon, beaten up, all that type of stuff. There's a bit of a there used to be anyway, a bit of a kind of a Christian redneck element to the Sutherland Shire.
Yeah.
And Woke's about that, because, you know,
Yeah.
Sutherland Shire now, I'm sure they'd all think that they're rather woke.
Mm.
Yeah.
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 Excellent.
And they weren't open-minded then.
Mm.
So yeah.
Okay, excellent. So have you heard of a band Two Faced?
No.
They're a Sydney band. I was just interviewing them. Just the bass guitarist. He is a New Zealand Indigenous guy.
Okay.
Fucking brilliant. They're like, and he was, it was a good interview. So we did Gaslighter, and I think we've done Waking God's Country as well. So
we've done side one.
Yep. Yep. So Hot Shot, what's that one?
Now that's a true story that happened in a share house in Surrey Hills back in the late 90s.
Excellent.
A friend of mine, I was back then I was using a lot of speed. And
As you do in Surrey Hills.
it was the style of the time.
Yep. And the 80s.
Yeah. Anyway, one of her flatmate was an S&M master. Now,
Okay.
he was also a prostitute.
Oh, that's really full on that you said, and he.
Yeah. So he used to walk around building tops with bull whips, whipping businessmen and that type of thing. That's what paid his bills.
Yep.
Anyway, he had hepatitis, so did his girlfriend. But he had a thing for my friend. Anyway, I've just had my speed and I've just come out of a bedroom and I've walked past the bathroom and this guy's got my friend in a dry bathtub, got her on, he's slipped a Rohypnol.
Oh, the old fucking date rape drug.
Exactly. You know where I'm going with this. So this bloke and his girlfriend are
whatever,
trying to seduce her basically by piercing her with pins and shit and doing all this type of stuff while she's off the place on Rowie. And she doesn't have a clue what's going on. Anyway, I just happened to walk past the door and stuck my head in and went, oh, what's going on here? And I looked at her and I said, are you okay with this? And she looks at me and snaps out of it and goes, twigs to what's going on. She goes, fucking no, and gets up out of the bathtub. So I kind of ruined their little thing for them.
Yeah.
A couple of months later, by this stage, my friend and I were together living in another share house, and I was trying to. This is when meth was just starting to come out in Sydney.
Okay.
Right.
Yep.
And I wanted to try it. So anyway, I knew this guy could get it. Our flatmate happened to be a flatmate from the previous house in Surrey Hills. She knew this guy's number, so I rang him and asked him if he could get on for me, and he goes, "Yeah, I can get on for you, but I'll probably give you a hot shot."
No, you're not kidding.
Yeah, so he wanted to kill me basically.
But he tells you.
Yeah, and he told me, yeah. So that's what that song's about.
Oh my God, that is just so fucking random, and I don't even use the word random. That I've got kids. Wow. And I've never had, I've probably spilt more speed than the average guy's ever injected, but I've never had the meth. No, and I don't think I ever will. I've got 3 adult children that their lives are just fucked up. But yeah. The speed in the 80s and 90s in Sydney was fucking fantastic.
If you get equate it to really, really good bass.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I remember actually it was about 7 days into it, and we went to the trade union and it was the Splatterheads, fucking Space Juniors.
Yep.
Oh, there was a heap of bands. But the Splatterheads were playing, they were doing their Splatterhead gig where they got the blood dripping.
Yep, seen it, yep.
And I've been 7 days into this fucking speed attack, mate. And if I could, but the drugs wouldn't have let it. But if I could, I would have shit myself. What I saw up on that stage was the whole night, man. I was that fucking paranoid. And it was just the ultimate. But yeah, I know. Okay, so we know what Hot Shot's all about.
That's what Hot Shot's about. A little
mate.
scenario that happened
Yeah,
a long time
that's
ago
excellent.
that stuck with me.
Probably the best answer I've ever gotten. Asking.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Rubicon Crossing.
Rubicon Crossing. Okay. If you remember when lockdown first started, it's a song written during COVID. So Trump was in power in the States, and we had the Morrison government here, and I think the ABC had just been raided by the AFP for freedom of the press and all that type of thing. Yeah. So we had Peter Dutton, and we had Scummo, and we had Trump, and all this shit was going on, and it looked like we were going to become semi-fascist, if you know what I mean. Yeah, especially with Dutton.
Mm.
So there's a line in there about Potato Head and all that type of thing. So yeah, the song's kind of about that. I mean, Rubicon, I'm a bit of a history buff. So when Julius Caesar crossed the Rubicon, he was effective and brought his army with me when he was returning to Rome. He effectively started a coup.
Okay.
So he either, once he crossed that river, he had to either take over Rome or he was going to be chased out.
Wow.
So, basically crossing the Rubicon is like, once you've gone past this point, you can't go back. So that's what Rubicon Crossing is about.
Well, hey, that nearly kicks Hotshot into randomness.
Yeah.
But nearly. How long were you in there for? Were there any songs that you played that you wanted to put on and you decided not to, or
was there one that we decided not to put on there? You know, I thought about this recently. There was another song that we had that I just didn't think kind of we knew what time we had to, because we wanted to make a vinyl record. And an extra song would have been too short for a 33 and a third 12-inch, and too long for and I mean, we wanted to make a 12-inch record, not a 7-inch or a 10. They're too expensive. So like, it was like, cut a song and we can squeeze these 5 tracks onto a 45 12-inch, which is what we ended up with. So like an EP or a short LP. So we scratched the song, and to be honest, I can't even remember what the name of it was.
No, me either.
That's how good it was.
Yeah.
So we just stuck
with no name.
Yeah.
Cool. I think it was somewhere between the previous recordings.
Yeah, it was.
So I think it's on the what's it called? The 95 Degrees South and whatever YouTube album that we put up. It's like a live demo.
We did a live demo up on YouTube.
I think it's on that, but
and it might be on that.
Yeah, I was watching
the one where I'm wearing the fucking flying helmet.
Yeah,
it's on that, but I can't remember what it's called, to be honest.
Again, that's how good it was. So
yeah. Damien, Nathan, thank you so much for being on the show.
No problem, man. Thanks for having us.
Hey guys, if you haven't already got it, get this fucking thing. It's full of total mind-bending mind fuckery. This is the album you gotta have in your collection. Watch it. Watch it. Listen to the fucking thing.